Thank you very much, AIOS and Sudipta, especially for taking the trouble to organize this course and asking me to be a part of it. Yeah, I think I'm full screen. Uh, Actually, my topic doesn't lend itself to COVID because of COVID. People have been going out less, and so there's been less trauma and less sublux lenses or lenses which have transzonular dehiscence. But anyway, I'm just going to show you two cases or maybe 1.5 cases on video, not to make the basic principles, which I hope most people know about, but to make a few subtle points which you need to keep in mind when you are handling these cases. Let's take our first case. This guy has a history of blunt trauma. It's from quite some years ago. Vision was counting fingers. His lens is subluxated superiorly. There's an inferior sort of deficit where the vitreous is coming through. And he has angle recession of over 100 degrees. So I'm also thinking that my glaucoma friend might one day have to do something to this guy. Young chap, about 28 or 29, something. So that is his thing. You can see right at the bottom, there's a deficit in the zonules there. That's before we start the case. So what I'm going to do is first try and identify what vitreous is there. If I need to remove any vitreous, or I need to push the vitreous back if at all I can. Before that, because I know where the dehiscence is, I'm going to prepare a pocket. Now this is a Hoffman pocket instead of a normal scleral pocket, which involves conjunctival decision. Remember I told you, my glaucoma friend might have to operate later. The less I play with the conjunctiva, the better it is for him. And anyway, this is a more elegant technique from that. Then I stain the anterior chamber with diluted Kenalog point, diluted. Don't just put it in because that gives you a storm cloud and you can't see anything. And actually you can see that the vitreous face is really not disturbed. It is forming a line there which can move back behind the lens. So I don't have loose vitreous in the AC. I'll come back to the reason for that. Okay, I start at pre-place my iris hooks because these are going to support the capsule, and then start my capsular axis. Another fine point to make is that you move your capsular axis for at least about 2 clock hours before you start hooking with the iris hooks. Because if I just move it to there and then hook it, I will tear the axis. It'll go out. Remember, trauma usually is a young patient. The capsule is more elastic. So move your axis about 2 clock hours to beyond where you want to hook it with the iris hook or capsule hook, whatever you're using, and then hook it, and always use bimanual instruments. Don't try to play around otherwise, because these are uncontrolled situations. You don't want the thing going south really. So we've now got 2 hooks in. So I'm reasonably comfortable. My rhexis is complete. I'm reasonably comfortable. What I'm doing, I've done my phaco. That wasn't a very hard cataract. So I've done my phaco and I'm just very gently removing the soft lens matter. And then I put in this device, which is an MF segment. Not as popular as rings, but much more versatile because you don't have to dial it. Remember, if you dial a ring, say a Sioni ring or even a capsule tension ring, dialing in it, you're causing radial tension to the remaining zonules. You want to strengthen the zonules, but you're weakening them. This thing you can just shove up to where you want. I shoved it up to where I want is already pre-threaded with the 9 on island. I pass my 2 needles under the iris in front of the anterior capsule through the sterile pocket and through the conjunctiva. One and then the second one. Both go in. Just imagine you've got both the needles there. In a second, they'll be out. You cut the needles, throw them away, and then you go inside this. You sort of pull the threads till you've got your bag center, and then you go inside the sterile pocket and pull the ends out. Because what I don't want is an exposed knot, and I don't want a knot which will expose in the future. I want a knot which will stay forever buried. So I go in and like fish out one end. Remember, I've cut the needle, so I pull long enough, I'll have a free end. There's the free end. And then the other one, and then I tie that knot. So once I've tied that knot, put my tree to whatever, now I've got a well-centered bag and it's an easy matter of putting the lens in. The whole point of showing the case was just to make these few subtle points where you can get caught and think, well, I just grab it with the hook now and your iris tears, or I'll open the conjunctiva and make big scleral flaps, and then your glaucoma surgeon kills you later on. And in fact, just be very controlled, very slow, very, very low. Everything is slow, and there's a lot of sort of dispersive viscoelastic like Viscoto, whichever brand you prefer, being used. So that was case number one, and I'll just show you part of my second case because I don't think I have time for the whole case. So this guy again has a history of trauma, and you can see that lens is dangling if there was ever a dangling lens. The zonules on your right are intact now, on the left are not, and I'm doing the same thing again. I'm extending my rhexis, although I want to hook it and support it, but I just wait till I've gone more than 1.5 clock hours beyond my iris hook. You can see because the stained rhexis is easy to see, and then I engage my iris hook there. The reason I keep repeating these points is because I've made these mistakes in the past, and once you know what to do, then you don't. And then I complete my rhexis. Once you've got a couple of supports in, then I complete my rhexis, and having then completed the rhexis, I'm feeling quite happy. I've got the lens in a horizontal position. I've got 2 iris hooks supporting the capsule. Okay, things should be all right. Very gentle hydrodissection because again, you don't want to blow anything up. And I start my, I put in the capsule tension segment at this stage. I haven't really decided, you saw how that lens was dangling before I started. So I haven't really decided whether I'll get away with it or will have to convert to a vitrectomy. I'm not going to suture this segment in yet. What I'm going to do is take one of my iris hooks and engage the middle little eyelet. It has a long C segment and a smaller thing, and I'm going to engage that with the hook. That's another technique you can use. You've got it temporarily supporting it. You've got a 120-degree segment supporting your zonular loss area. And this is now a fairly stable system, or so I think. I'm quite happy I start my phaco. I'm going to do a stop and chop. I'm not going to do fancy chop here because I don't want the lens tilting. I don't want any pressure on whatever is on you. You watch on the right, the zonules are going. The zonules I told you are intact from where the thing was lying. Those are going. You watch what I'm doing it, so I stop. Before I withdraw, I fill the anterior chamber again with viscoelastic, which is dispersive. And then I go to the other side and put another one of ICAMA's little segments in there. And I do the same thing. I'm going to put in another iris hook there, drag it into the bag with a little C in front, and put another iris segment in there. Again, pass it through the little hole. So now I've got 120, 120 to 40 degrees supported. So that bag can hardly go south till I decide to take my iris hooks out. By that time, the lens will be gone, so I won't have to worry. And then I go back, and yes, it's still wobbly, but it's relatively stable. And you make a very deep groove because, again, you don't want to use much separation force, and you split right at the bottom of the thing. And once you split it, then you're back to an easy game. You rotate it, nibble little bits, and go back and suture suture your segments, put in your IOL. So that was just some few little tips about handling subluxed or almost dislocated lenses. Thank you.
Thanks a ton, Somda. And I think we can take some questions before we go for our next speaker. Aurubda, you have some questions for Somda, please?
Yeah. Question. When do you think that you should be introducing the CTR? Because that's very important. If you introduce it early, then it becomes very difficult to take out the nucleus and the cortex because it gets entangled there. And in cases where, not in these 2 cases which you have presented, I'm saying otherwise, in case of you, when you are doing the surgery, you see that there is a subluxation of the lens or the zonules have gone in one part of the cataract. then only when to introduce a CTR, how to prevent that. And number two is that, I think number two is that when do you think you should use a capsular ring to hold it?
The capsular ring to hold, not quite sure about that.
Iris hook, capsular hooks, I'm saying.
Oh, iris hooks to hold it. Let me answer the first one first. The first question was whether what is the timing of putting in the CTR? Timing is you can do it at any time after you have done your hydrodissection. And I take the point, you might entangle some cortex. It generally doesn't entangle the nucleus. You might entangle some cortex, which is caught between the capsule tension ring and the capsule. So once you finish your nuclear disassembly and removal, it becomes sometimes difficult to take that cortex out. But remember, there are two reasons to put in a CTR. One is to give you support, and two is to stretch the bag. If you have a large zonular deficiency and you wait to take out the nucleus, the capsule will come to you while you're doing your phaco or your chop, because it's not supported by anything. I mean, for lack of time, I didn't show you those videos, but the capsule bag actually flops towards your phaco probe, and that is a very difficult thing. You know, it's heartbreaking for the surgeon. I'd rather have a little cortex, which I will remove later on, not by pulling centripetally, but by pulling sideways using a windshield wiper kind of effect, and usually you can get away with it. So that is about CTRs. The time to put it in is just before you think you need it. That's an easy thing to say, but a difficult thing to do. But I wouldn't delay putting in a CTR. And the second question was, when do you think you need hooks to support your capsule? That is when you have frank loss, like the cases I showed you. You either know it's there before you go in, or during the case, and you think a part of your lens is tilting south. Then you have to put a hook to sort of pull it forward and keep it forward. Usually 2 or 3 hooks.
Yes. Or do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask something. How do you decide by just looking at the amount of subluxation that you can keep the lens, put in a CTR, retain the bag, or you'll have to sacrifice the bag? How do you just, by looking or examining the patient at the slit lamp, you have an idea about it?
Well, Arudha, I always plan to try and preserve the bag, if at all I can. So if I decide to sacrifice the bag, it is an intraoperative decision. You know, I tried my best and it didn't work, so I sacrificed the bag. The reason is that an intact vitreous, especially in a young patient, actually protects the retina.
Exactly.
So I don't want to sacrifice the vitreous unless I have to, unless I'm forced to. So I always go in thinking I will do one of these fancy tricks, put in a ring, put in some segments, suture them if necessary. Now, how do you judge during the operation? If you just put in a CTR and your bag is centered. Your bag is centered, you can usually not see the CTR, it is under the iris. Then you're probably safe just with a CTR. If you can see part of the CTR, so the bag, that means the bag is decentered, part is under the iris on one side, say on your left, or on the right, you can see a part. That means the bag is not centered. That means you have to then decide to put in a segment and suture.
Yeah.
Another point is that how much of it, of the subluxation, like say 1 quadrant of it, I think I use only just a CTR and it suffices my purpose. And what do you think?
Actually, actually, Dr. Chakravarti, you can use it for even larger than that, maybe about 110, 120 degrees.
Only CTR.
Your bag has, once you put in your CTR, you have to take a call, is the bag centered or not? If it is not, then you need something additional. If it is centered, then you put in your lens and come out. And ideally in these cases, I always put in a 3-piece lens in the bag, if possible in the bag, generally in the bag, because that is my plan B for when something else happens 10 years down the line, I can go and suture that haptic.
Okay.